Hello, welcome back to Tarot Thoughts in Space. So glad you are here to join me for some sharing of new decks. I recently picked up some new tarot decks and also some new oracle decks, so I just thought I'd go ahead and share them with everybody. So I'd love to hear, how you work with some of these decks, and maybe if any of these are a little obscure or you haven't heard of any of them, share how you got them. I tend to like to wander into some unusual shops as I travel and see if I can find any tarot oracle decks that I haven't seen. Starting off with this one. Oh, wow, I saw this a while ago and I kind of said, no, I don't think I'll get it because I had the Majestic Earth Tarot. If you know in my last video, I decided to rehome the Majestic Earth Tarot just because it's not really my aesthetic. I like the concept of the Spacious tarot, love the coloring and the artistic quality of it. I recently purchased it. I also purchased the expansion pack with it. So I do have blended here the tarot deck itself and also the expansion pack with it. I just think it's really cool that you can work with a deck and not be distracted by the characters in the deck. Be a little bit more absorbed and enthralled by the images, seeing yourself in the image, like a first person point of view. I think that's very unique. I also like how I rely less on titles with this deck. For some reason, the sparse image without the characters in it capture my attention a lot better than some of my other decks, and so I'm not really that concerned with the title when I'm doing a reading. So, here's the Temperance card, which is my card. It's definitely got a unique perspective. I love this Devil card here. Reminds me of a photo I took of some birch trees that were lined up in this same way, and it had the same feel or vibe to it. So cool Tower card, and finally gave in. I wanted to check out this deck, and I am really happy I did because I think it's one of the only decks that I have that don't include people. Maybe I have one other. This is from the expansion portion of the deck, so the Earth card. This is like the back of the Earth card and the back of the tarot deck, and they do match even though it's an expansion pack. They were delivered together at the same time. I purchased them as a set. Yeah, it's been great kind of going through this deck. I've just been going through it and looking at the images. I haven't really worked with it the way I work with my other decks, which is I'll do some major spreads and then journal about them. So I haven't been able to do that with this deck, but I definitely plan to. The only thing that might hinder me from actually working with this deck as often as I would is probably the cardstock. It's very stiff, a bit cardboardy to me. Cool hermit card, right? Good hermit card. And so yeah, because it's kind of stiff, it's a little bit hard to riffle shuffle, and I'm a big riffle shuffler. That's part of the enjoyment of working with the cards, any decks. So for me, riffle shuffling is part of like the experience and the enjoyment and kind of the meditative quality of working with cards in general. Cool star card. I definitely live in a place where this is a very real experience, so it's just cool to have this possessed in a card. This as well, as we're moving into fall now, the leaves are turning color, and it's so cool to see that in a deck. I just love how it takes the original Rider-Waite pictures and kind of puts a new twist on it, thinking outside the box. Using objects as people is very clever. It also conveys a lot of feeling without actually having to see the expressions, so that's pretty neat. Yeah, so, my Sagittarius card, I love this. It kind of reminds me of going to those paint and unwind type get-togethers where I've painted similar pictures. And so, I don't know, it's just, this is beautiful. Totally something I'd want to paint one of those type of events. I think this is going to be a great experience. I enjoy looking at the imagery. Cardstock is definitely kind of a bummer, but I don't think it's a deal breaker for me. I just have way too many cards that I connect with. This Emperor card. Oh, love this poppy flower, I believe. I tried growing some, but didn't have any luck, so it's really nice to have that in a deck. These lily pads represented in a lake near me. I don't know, so I think this also has a vibe of like where I live, and so it makes it really easy to connect. Super cool. If you haven't checked this deck out or on the fence, finding reasons why resonates with you is probably a start to kind of tip you over, and that's what tipped me over. The coloring, the imagery, the fact that I can see myself in it and interpret things beyond the typical interpretation of the card also kind of prompted me to want to get this deck and explore it for myself. So yeah, that's a Spacious Tarot. It comes with a guidebook, which I think is pretty thoughtful, not just a little white book. And then also comes with the expansion guidebook for the additional cards. So the next tarot deck that I have is the Boo Tarot, or Boo Tarot, not the Boo Tarot, but you know what I mean. So this deck, I am like totally enthralled by. I'm not into cutesy decks. A lot of my decks I wouldn't classify as cutesy at all. But this deck definitely captured my heart, like right off the bat. And I think it's because I can totally connect with the expressions on these ghosts' face. Kind of bizarre. I think it's kind of bizarre, but the way that they are illustrated, honestly too, maybe when I laugh or smile, I kind of look like this in general, but yeah, I can totally resonate with what they're feeling in the depictions, and also the way that they're illustrated is just beautiful as far as detail and the use of the color and use of nature, and also has like a spooky vibe to it, which is cool. So originally I was like debating between the Mons Tarot and the Cosmic Beans Tarot, which is from the same creator, the Mons Tarot. And you know, those are still on the wish list, but the Mons Tarot to me was very storybook, which this is as well. I preferred the illustrations of the Cosmic Beans better, but I preferred the coloring of the Mons Tarot, because if I'm gonna do something cutesy, I kind of liked the Mons Tarot coloring. So if I could just take the Cosmic Beans one and merge it with the Mons Tarot, that would be like awesome. So anyways, I was on the fence and couldn't decide like which one I would get, and I didn't really need two cutesy decks. But then when I saw this one, I was like, oh my god, this totally embodies everything that I'm interested in. For one thing, learning French. The cards have the French interpretation and the English interpretation, so that could help me learn French a little bit more. And also the coloring it appeals to me. It's like subdued, I guess is a good word. It's not too bright and fun. It's definitely colorful, but in a very subdued way. It has cutesy figures in it. And then their expressions are totally something I can connect with and jive with. And then the cards are just easy to look at. I don't even need to look at the titles. I could totally interpret what each card is. Oh god, and these ghosts, man, they're just so cute, and they kind of shimmer. Well, overall, this deck is probably going to be one of my all-time favorites. I've already done a few spreads with it. I've journaled with it. I've bonded upon, meeting it, and that's kind of rare. Like, I can usually tell, like, if I get a deck and I kind of put it to the side for a while, I don't really open it and play with it. I mean, I eventually do because I do that with every single deck. But as far as like wanting to work with it and looking forward to it, this deck has captured my heart in that way. So, such a cool deck. This is like one of my favorite cards in this deck. I want to join them. I want to join them in their fun. Oh, and plus like the spooky Halloween vibe, totally up my alley too. So it just like checks a lot of boxes for a cutesy, childlike storybook deck that I would have never considered for myself. Again, I don't have too many of these type of decks, so definitely suggest checking it out. The backs, wow, fun. And I am going to go ahead and riffle shuffle this deck just to show you how much more fun this deck is when you riffle shuffle it. I'm a slow riffler, so it's not indicative of the cards. It's just I tend to bridge slow, so yeah. Anyways, love it. And this is a little book here. It's between a little white book and just your, like maybe a standard thicker book, like the one that we just saw with the Spacious Tarot. And then I'll go ahead and show you like just journaling with it. Anyways, here's just where I journal my tarot spreads for now. And yeah, you can see here I did the Poltergeist spread, which was one of the spreads in the book. The first card is what is blocking you now. The second card, the lesson that blockage can teach you. Third card, how to get free from that blockage. Then I pulled like an oracle card to sum it all up. Like the way I tend to journal with new decks is I might kind of put down what I interpret the card as, just to kind of like continually exercise and practice my knowledge building. And also, I'm not good at remembering, so this helps practice again the meanings of the cards. And then I'll go ahead and read what's like in the book or in a book. Sometimes I use the book that the deck comes with, sometimes I use a different book. In this case, I use the book that the deck comes with, and I'll just sum up a portion of it, and then I'll highlight any words that just really sum up the entire card meaning. Okay, so the last tarot deck I'm going to share is Trick or Treat Tarot. I'm a huge fan of Barbara Moore decks. Yeah, I just had to get this one because I love Halloween. I love dressing up. I love costumes. So when I saw this deck, I was like, oh, this totally embodies what I grew up loving about Halloween, was just the ability to put on a different costume every year, kind of like express creativity and tap into pretending to be someone else or something else for a day. And so this deck just brings me back to that nostalgia. Of course, any of her decks come with a great book. I mean, the quality of the book production is pretty awesome. I have a goal of kind of comparing all her books to see if, you know, they're all uniquely written or if it's kind of just the same general information. I don't know if anybody's done that already. I tend to skip around, and like I said, I don't really remember things that well, so unless I have all the books out comparing them to each other, then I won't know if they are similar. Anyways, this deck, I've already worked with it a little bit. The backs, I'm not like a huge fan. I don't really feel like they match the front that well, just because of the vibrant colors, but I know some people like it, so, you know, to each their own. Just makes me wonder what I'm going to end up edging this deck in, because I've already decided, like, you know, I'm going to keep this deck. God, I love jellyfish, so I love how they incorporated a jellyfish costume. So that's like one of my favorite sea animals, spirit animals. Yeah, so anyways, this just brings you back to the suburbs and trick-or-treating and, you know, everything that is kitschy about Halloween. Black cats, ghost sheet costumes, just some of our favorite archetypes for Halloween in general. Almost all the images you can easily connect with, from costume parties you went to. You know, makes it more fun to be able to see the Rider-Waite-Smith done in different versions of it. It keeps it interesting. Not to say I would get bored of Rider-Waite-Smith imagery, but I'm always looking to expand my interpretation and my understanding. Any which way a deck can connect that new interpretation or new perspective is great. So some of the cards are like a little gory. It's like not really my whole thing, but you know, it's not done overly so. This is a great card, Chariot. So love the bats. This reminds me of Hocus Pocus. This is probably my least favorite card. Yeah. Some of my favorite cards. I was Elvira for one Halloween, so glad Elvira was included. It was interesting how the Emperor card has the dog with the, I forgot what he would be, he or she, Headless Horseman, I suppose, or I'm not sure. But that, anyways, there's a dog included here, but then in the full card, it's actually a cat. So I don't know if that's a pet peeve, if I'm just a purist and I want to see a dog instead of a cat. Also, I'm a dog owner, but I have had cats in the past, but you know, I love my dog too. So I just noticed that's like a little different. I don't know if anybody else out there has noticed the same. So cat instead of dog for the Fool, dog instead of, well, dog for the Emperor. Although, if you think about the meanings, dogs tend to be more loyal. Even the word dogmatic, but cats tend to be more, well, they can take more risks, be more adventurous. So, yeah. Some people mentioning like copyright issues with some of the imagery. So I just knew that I had to get this deck just in case that was the case. 101 Dalmatians. You know, I could have this deck because this totally tickles that Halloween costume, being a kid again vibe, which I totally can play with. Super fun. I also did a reading with this and I journaled. And you know, I don't tend to journal like everything, every reading that I do for myself, but typically if I'm trying out a deck and I want to try out one of the spreads, then I may go ahead and just journal one time. So this was the Messages from the Other Side spread that it had. Card 1, who are you communicating with? Card 2, what they're happy about. And card 3, something to be concerned about. And card 4, a special message. Turns out the person I was communicating with was myself, or what I thought was my higher self. Temperance card is my sun signs card, so you know, just naturally fit that I was communicating with my higher self. So that was the Trick or Treat Tarot. Okay, so moving on to Oracle decks. The first one is Awake Inner Wisdom cards. This I picked up at a gift shop at a hotel. This hotel is basically like a playground for adults because it encompasses like various restaurants in it. They have like a speakeasy that you have to find yourself. Like nobody will actually tell you where it is. And then they have like a gift shop, and this gift shop is like in the basement, and it's got like an espresso bar and a, what's it called? Brewery, I guess. So I don't know. I picked this up there. It comes with a crystal down here. Very pretty. And then it came with a book interpreting the cards. Yeah. And then here are the cards. Everything is like this soft rose petally finish, but not overly so. It's not as soft and rose petally as the Dark Mansion. It's a little bit less so, I guess. These are the backs of the cards. They did come gilded, but I noticed that the edges were curling forward and they weren't cut in a way that sealed the cardstock. So, you know, there could be fraying over time. So I went ahead and just cut all the edges. And because they were now cut into the gilding, I went ahead and just colored it with a black marker. Anyways, this deck feels very graphic, and it's got like a sketchy vibe to it, just kind of like raw prints. So I really dig that. Just some interesting images here. Some of them are fully illustrated, very detailed, and some of them are just very simple, minimalist. Begin anew. It's like a phoenix. Even with these very like simple images with the geometric symbols, wow, it totally makes big impact in a reading. I think the black and white speaks to duality, and the geometric imaging is just clean and simple. Look at this cute otter. Reminds me of my puppy. Sacred Connection. This is one of the first cards I got when I was beginning to acquaint myself with this deck, so just really cool. Intent. Look at that. So this is a Cosmic Blueprint, but I can bounce off so much from just this card here. Just like the nature of curves and the very angular geometric drawing, having a plan and that plan changing, you know, from external forces. Maybe or creating containment in a way that doesn't allow external forces to kind of influence and expand that plan. So, you know, there's a lot you can go off, just very simple line work. And then you have these more illustrated pictures here. Sparkling Synchronicity, Dream. I did a vision board, and I drew a house in nature with trees, and well, it came true, and I'm there now. I live in a place that looks like this, in a space that looks like this, and yeah, pretty cool. Do your vision board. That's the that's the lesson there. So most of the phrases are pretty simple, like to interpret. Like right off the bat, you know, shine on. But this one, Merkaba, is one of the only ones that is different that I'd have to look up. I love this manifestation card. Yeah. Ceremony. Equanimity. Nature Gems. Untwist. And then another jellyfish. I think I'm a sucker for decks with jellyfish. So if you know any jellyfish decks out there, let me know. Totally down for that. Embrace. Build. Earth Magic. Nourish and Flourish. Look at this snail. So cool. Mystery. So one of my favorite cards that I'm going to show here is the integration. Yeah. So I love this card. I don't know what it is, but even though it's so simple, Divine Matrix, pretty cool, Unalone. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have seen this deck around. It is fairly simple, but I totally am all about it. So I thought maybe I'll look up this card since it's kind of different. I'll read what it says. The inherent quality of your soul is light. Merkaba, light, spirit, body, or soul, mind, body, the connection points of the self. You are a vortex of brilliant light love that is currently manifested in a human body. This does not limit you to only linear physical experiences on the earth plane. However, you can awaken different dimensions of the self and travel in your interdimensional field of light through transcendental meditation, astral travel, and intention setting. Remember that this is a multi-dimensional expansive journey that will help the daily grind seem so much more manageable. Don't be downtrodden by the little things that irk you, for they exist as teachers. Remain strong in the power of the light. Merkaba. So yeah, I love this little deck. I like leave it on my coffee table, so I'll just randomly pick a card. And it's fairly new. Like, out of all my Oracle decks, I've connected with this pretty instantly. You'll definitely get a feel for the type of art I like from this deck. I definitely like colorful decks, but more decks with muted color. And I do tend to like black and white decks. I like very illustrated, detailed decks with a lot of high contrast, but not busy in a sense. So I think the high contrast helps cut down on the busy feel or look of the deck. And then I do like more simplistic stuff as well. I have some pretty minimalist decks like this, like Golden Thread Tarot is one. So I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, so that's the Awake Inner Wisdom cards. And just in case you need it, if you're interested, you can pick this up at shopgeo.com if they have it there online. I picked this up in a gift shop, so check your local gift shops. Okay, so the next oracle is my Woodland Wardens oracle. I've seen this being circulated around by people, showing on their channels, and I think that's kind of what influenced me to get it. I saw it and I was like, oh god, I have to have that, because there are a lot of decks that are similar to this vibe, this feel, with the type of illustration. Feels kind of cottagey, folky, florally, vintage coloring. I love how it pairs plants and florals with animals, so it's almost like you get a 2-for-1. But I love the animals that are portrayed here. Like I said before in my last video, I'm not usually a plant or animal deck person, but I think I like oracle decks that feature both because they interact with each other, and so I get to enjoy both at the same time. And the illustrations here portray the animals in, not cutesy, but, you know, definitely more lovable. I mean, the spider paired with this passion flower. I like the spider more. This deck is pretty cool, actually. I did journal a spread with this deck. And so one of the spreads that I did was the intuition spread. I did an intuition spread. Oh wait, was this one? Maybe this wasn't a spread in the book. I can't remember. Maybe I did my own. So it's just, I'd like to learn more about my intuition. It was the prompt that I thought of, and I asked, what is my intuition about? And out came these cards, and how can I use my intuition best? and out came these cards. And I just jotted a little bit about what they had to say. And so it was a really cool journal prompt to use. Like I said, I don't journal every single spread I do. I will typically maybe journal one spread for each new deck. And then if I continue to do spreads for that deck, it's because I'm doing a very meaningful, poignant spread. It's not just a everyday spread, because when I pull cards for every day, I'm not typically journaling. It's only if it's very specific, as far as something I'm going to want to go back and look at it because it represents something about the overall year or who I am as a person, or major changes in my life. So that would be the only time that I tend to journal. I had done a year spread, and I did journal that, and I do go back to that spread and still check it out. I know some people have mentioned they're not a big fan of journaling. It is time consuming, so over time I've tried to learn ways of making it less time consuming. I'll just pick very specific spreads to journal about that are more meaningful than just every day, so that I can go back and look at those and enjoy them. What I love about this deck too is I really love the contrast between some of the black backgrounds, and it really makes the images pop. So it feels very potent. This deck feels very potent. So yeah, it's super cool. And so for this deck, it's a great shuffler too. Oops. The Skunk and Magnolia Protection. So I can read a little bit about that and just show you what the book has to offer. I think it is a little bit difficult to find the card in the book because it is not alphabetized. All right. So the skunk knows how to shield itself by spraying its foes with a foul odor. Its black and white fur serves as a warning to all would-be assailants. Similarly, the magnolia is known for its large, waxy leaves and copious blooms. Its thick-petaled flowers are some of the oldest on Earth, having evolved to endure damage from beetles. Upright, you are safe, your boundaries are respected, and your home is intact. Remember that when you are protected, it becomes your duty to protect others. Extend your shelter to those without one. Reverse, self-protection can hinder growth. You may be misinterpreting a situation and acting defensively. Ask yourself why you feel the need for armor. Could greater vulnerability benefit you? And then it has a couple questions. How can I protect others? Or who or what makes me feel safe? Great journal prompt questions. So this deck is very thoughtful. I've been working with it for a while. Totally recommend it. Love it. Great for fall and any time of the year. Pretty cool, huh? And the last oracle deck that I picked up is the Wild Goddess Oracle. So I believe this is by the same creator who does the now I'm blanking. Oh, the Enchanted Tarot. I was close. But I saw this in my local bookshop, and this bookshop is super awesome. So it was just sitting there on the shelf, and I don't know, I kept walking by and glancing, and I just grabbed it, and I was like, you know what, this is something that is just calling me. When you open it, it has the deck here. Doesn't really have anything to keep it in there, so it does tend to fall out if you open it a certain way, but it doesn't bother me. And then the book is also in here, and it slides out if you wanted to take it out. It's actually a really great book. It's got the full image in here with the message on the card, and I will show you that. And then it kind of goes a little bit deeper. And then it has kind of a prompt for working with the goddess, typically a mantra. So just showing you some of the illustrations. Some of the pages are like full page illustrations and some are smaller. But it's a beautiful deck. I do have a few goddess decks. I'm not like super into goddess decks, but I think what typically draws me towards a deck is the illustrations, of course, but like the mood of the deck or the coloring is a big thing. Black's my favorite color, so that tends to capture my interest. But this deck looks a bit collage-y, but not super photorealistic. So it's got an air of vintage vibes. I don't know how to put it. I feel like it's vintage mixed with modern aesthetic. I just love how the goddesses in this deck are adorned. And there's kind of a lot to go off. Even though the images are stagnant, like what's happening in the photo, you can interpret colors and shapes and layers upon layers. I'm not typically into photo collage decks. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already, but didn't even know really what this deck was going to look like, but I kind of bonded with it right when I saw it. And not all the images match. Like there's one image in here that's kind of different. This is a little different as well. But the way it was done, it goes together for me. I don't know. It just comes together in the right way. It's the beauty of tarot and oracle decks. I still see the person's expressions very clearly. So again, it doesn't feel stagnant to me, like these are just statues here. I mean, even the actual statues have expressions. One of my favorite cards, the Dancer. So I highly recommend this deck. I should tell you that originally this deck was cut in a way that was not symmetrical. It was like rounded on one side. This was slightly pointy, so it was almost like the right side of all the cards had not been cut correctly. And I think the bottom was, the rounded cut was the same, but this top left corner was like a different rounded cut. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I ended up recutting it, and then I also edged it in black. It was originally white. So I took my trusty corner puncher and punched all the corners large. I would have liked to have kept it more square and angular. I feel like certain decks, the images really pop if it has that more angular square look. So this deck would have definitely benefited from squarish corners, but something like that doesn't stop me from modifying and enjoying a deck. At least this one I can shuffle, riffle shuffle it. So tell me what you think of this deck. Oh, the poet. I have one other oracle deck that's photo collage that I picked up when I was on a road trip from an obscure bookshop just off the interstate, and it ended up being it's like my most favorite to oracle deck that I actually take with me whenever I travel. And coincidentally enough, it's called the Travel Oracle. So let me know if you'd like to see that, because I think I'm going to end up showing it at some point, but I could do it sooner than later if you're interested in some decks that haven't really had any exposure or airtime, and you're looking for something that's kind of different. In that deck, the focus isn't so much on the people. In this deck, I would say definitely the people are the focus. So this is the card that I was kind of talking about as far as like the imagery is very different. Doesn't really match the vibe of the majority of the deck. You can see here. This one feels more cartoonish a little bit in contrast to this one. But isn't this such a beautiful card? Colors are vibrant, expressions are clear, and you could just connect very easily. This one I kind of was like, what? But then I get it, humorous. What is her hat? It's a fountain, I think. So pretty interesting. The Dreamer was the last card. So yeah, I can just read you what it says on the back here. The Dreamer. Look to your day and night dreams for guidance. Keep dreaming, keep envisioning, and give back by helping others realize their dreams. And then, of course, it goes deeper in the book. This is the Wild Goddess Oracle. And I'll go ahead and shuffle this just to show you how it shuffles. It's definitely usable in an enjoyable way, and the imagery is great. So I recommend this if you're into picking up a new oracle deck. So that was all the tarot and oracle decks that I had to share for you that I recently got, and I'm so glad I got to share them with you because a few of these, almost all of them, have become my favorite. I definitely have a soft spot for a lot of them. So if you're interested in any like seeing any of my other oracle decks or tarot decks, just seeing what I have in my collection, go ahead and let me know. Also, if you've seen any of these decks and you have any comments about them or just experiences on how you get along with them, I'm definitely interested in connecting with that. Thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate you being here, and see you in the next video. Bye.